Few are capable of facing Dvorak's deformities without being at least startled. And for this reason, he always wears a mask in public. Much of his body, including his face, is marked by a greyish, scaly skin. Still, this reptilian form blends with pale human flesh, making his appearance even more repulsive. His body is slightly bent, frail, and the right limbs are malformed, causing him to limp when moving. The hair on his forehead is sparse, but at the back, it gains a bit more volume, stretching into silver strands. His right ear is deformed, while the left appears human. However, those who break through the barrier of first impressions may notice that Dvorak's flattened eyes are quite perceptive, gaining a reddish glow in the dark. His mind is sharp, and he always has a unique reasoning to assess situations. Although he expresses his thoughts rationally, he is rarely captivating. It takes time, even for those who give him a chance for closeness, to realize that his atypical perspicacity in words can be of good use. Dvorak knows his place in the world, away from the light. However, it is in the shadows that his spirit yearns for a glory that the world has always made clear could never be rightfully his. Dvorak is the result of the union between two cousins from an influential house among the Veragon, with residence and business activities in Waterdeep. The marriage between cousins was arranged to ensure that the power of the house remained within the family. However, as soon as the firstborn of this union was born, the monstrous features of the baby brought screams of terror from the midwives and shame to the parents. The newborn could have been executed or perhaps dumped in the sewers of Waterdeep. However, he was spared, and understanding the meaning of this act of mercy, Dvorak is eternally grateful to his parents. Since childhood, he lived in a more secluded and dark room within the family estate, forbidden to roam the corridors of the house. One of the maids, Molly, was assigned to take care of Dvorak from an early age, and she always took great care of him since, especially because, until a certain moment in his life, his legs were atrophied and his eyes and skin showed a certain sunlight sensitivity. His father visited him in his room at least once a week, but kept a convenient distance from the creature he still somehow called son. Despite the distance, Dvorak could recognize in his father's gaze a discreet feeling of pity towards him, the same feeling, he believes, responsible for sparing him from a crueler fate. A few times a year, his mother accompanied his father on these visits. Her distance from the monster she had to accept living in her house was even greater, from the disdainful and rejecting look of his mother. Dvorak learned early on that his presence in this world was unwanted. His world was confined to his room, but there he read many stories about all of Faerûn. Until one day, he discovered that there was an ancient, secret passage in his room that connected to other chambers in the house through small corridors. Sometimes at night, he would transit through these tunnels and observe his parents and the servants through cracks in the stone walls. There were also children living in that house. Children who were never introduced to him, but whom he somehow knew were his siblings. Sometimes during the days, he would struggle to sneak to the window and face the merciless sunlight just to watch them play in the gardens. At the end of the day, when the lighting was dimmer from his window, he had the view of the majestic white city of Waterdeep tinged with the purplish and reddish hues of the last rays of sun before the night, and the sight of that city brought him a wistful sigh, longing to venture out there someday. Until, on a certain day, before turning 13, one of his brothers entered his room through one of the secret passages. His name was Basili, and he was larger than Dvorak, despite being almost 2 years younger. They became good friends, and frequently Basili came to visit him, so they could play at night. Dvorak holds Basili in high regard, even though he had everything Dvorak wished for himself. Basili is the beloved and perfect son that Dvorak could never have been. On his 15th birthday, Basili came to his room and brought a bottle of wine he had stolen from the pantry so they could celebrate. They drank almost until dawn. Somehow, the power of that drink unleashed in Dvorak an impulse he could no longer contain. In one way or another, he needed to explore the jungle of stone and white marble he glimpsed every evening. The next night, after everyone had gone to sleep, he stealthily sneaked out of the house. He grabbed a cloak to cover his monstrosity and wandered through the alleys of Waterdeep. He was thrilled by the life pulsating in those streets, even under the veil of stars. He managed to return home unnoticed. And over the years, he repeated adventures like that many times, getting to know the alleys of Waterdeep like few others. In the underworld, he gradually made contacts with those who cared more about gold than who they were dealing with. Still, Dvorak always wore a mask and clothes that covered his deformities. Over time, even the Veragon family became aware that a monstrous member of the family roamed the streets and alleys of Waterdeep at night, offering his services as a mercenary. Only to then spend all the gold on games, drinks, and underworld brothels. This brought him serious problems with his parents and other siblings, who by this point knew of his existence and had already had contact with him, one way or another, when he was returning from the streets before dawn. However, Basili protected him. He questioned them, asking how they dared to treat their own son like an animal. No one questioned him because his words were true. And he was the beloved son. When Basili came of age, things improved greatly for Dvorak within the family. Basili was the natural heir to the house and was soon initiated as a promising knight in the Order of the True Dragon Knights, the secret society of the Veragon. Dvorak was the one he trusted the most, and besides being blood brothers, they were best friends. Basili always made sure that Dvorak accompanied him as his advisor. Thus, Dvorak had contact with the secret society, even if only through accompanying Basili. However, when Basili reached his 25th birthday, he was ambushed by orcs when returning from an operation of the True Dragon Knights to the north. His body was never found but was declared dead. Since then, his other brother, Jaromir, 3 years younger than Basili, began to be prepared as the heir to the house and was initiated into the Order of the True Dragon Knights. The relationship between Jaromir and Dvorak is not friendly, but there is no specific enmity. Jaromir simply shares the same view of Dvorak that his parents taught him, that he is a shame to the family. 5 years have passed since Basili's disappearance, but Dvorak has never given up on one day being able to find him again. Recently, he joined the company of the dragon Lance with the goal of making his own fortune. He dreams that one day he will be able to reunite with Basili, even though everyone considers him dead. Despite being rejected by his family, Dvorak holds his family in high regard and secretly hopes to one day make Faerûn accept the Veragon as a legitimate noble family